and welcome to Inside Leisure World. My name is Bob Slater, and I'm the host for today's program. And my guest is Vern Jackson. Vern,
Bob,
welcome to the show.
thank you for asking.
Take a good look at this guy, and you say, "Guy, I've seen him someplace. He kind of looks familiar." Let's see whether we can jog your memory for a second. Most recently, he is a member of the Rolling Thunder
Golf
Cart Club, and they gave caution sign. What would you call those flags?
They're flags that stick up on the back of scooters and bicycles and golf carts.
And that's just to warn people that
To warn people that can't see it. We're pretty low profile, so you can see a flag sticking up in the air.
And the reason why they did that was just recently, it's been a couple of months now, there was a accident involving a golf cart and a scooter that
Yes.
resulted in a fatality.
Yes.
And neither one of those vehicles had a flag of any
Right.
sort. Is that correct?
Right.
How many did you pass out that day, by the way?
You know, we did air and water and the flag installation, and I think we did about 25, and that was a couple of weeks ago. And previously, we did another one over at Clubhouse 6, and they gave away about 50 installed, about 50 of them. So altogether, we've done about 75.
Well, good, good. So if you didn't recognize him there, maybe you recognized him in Clubhouse 2 at the Memorial Day services because he sang, among things, "It's Good to Be an American." If you didn't see him there, then you saw him at, I don't know how sequentially this is going to be, but you saw him at the Cabaret Entertainers on a Valentine's Day program. You also, if you didn't see him there, you also saw him, Hank Bardo had a Christmas show. And many, many other venues in Leisure World. However, for those of you that are seeing this program that don't live in Leisure World, you might still be saying, "I wonder where I've seen him." Having said that, Vern, can we go back to the beginning, maybe from, I don't know, from 10 on?
Sure, we can go back as far as you want to go.
How far back do you want to go?
Well, I started singing. That's what I do, and when I was about 6 years old. And my mom always would sit at the piano, I can still remember this, and hit a note and want me to hit that note, and I could never do it. But one day, my first grade teacher called home and said, would it be okay if Vern did a lead in an operetta, little thing that little kids do in school? She said, well, yes, I'd love for him to, but he can't sing. Oh, yes, he can, the teacher said. So that was when I was 6 years old, and I've been singing ever since. So it was a gift.
So then you went from probably in elementary school, high school, the choir, the glee club, one of those.
Churches all over.
And how about once school was out, then what happened?
Well, in 1956, the pastor from my little town, Afton, Iowa, a little town about 700 people, the pastor moved, him and his family moved from Afton, Iowa to Anaheim. And so in 1957, the year before I got out of high school, we took a California trip to visit our old pastor and his family in Anaheim. And unbeknownst to me, the pastor's wife had taken a job at a place I'd never heard of, Knott's Berry Farm. Well, she had arranged an audition for me to sing with a cowboy group at Knott's Berry Farm. And so, well, okay, so I did it. I went out and sang a couple of songs. In fact, the song was Old Man River. I sang at the wagon camp at Knott's Berry Farm, that circle of wagons. And they asked me to come back when I got out of high school if I was interested in having a job. Well, duh, I was going to be a singer. So there was a job offered to me as soon as I got out of high school. So I took the job at Knott's Berry Farm. The group was called the Wagon Masters. It was a cowboy group that was a Western group called, Cool Water and Tumblin' Tumbleweeds, Roy Rogers type cowboy music. And I did that for about 4.5 years, and that was my first step into music.
Okay, there's your first clue, right?
Yes.
Somebody may have seen you back in the 50s, I guess.
Yes.
At Knott's Berry Farm.
Yes.
Okay.
I looked a little different then than I do now.
Probably a lot
Well,
different.
you didn't have to say that.
No, I caught myself
But
at the very
thank you.
minute.
Thank you, yeah.
So then what happened after Knott's Berry Farm?
I came to California with the idea, because growing up, everybody had said, oh, you're going to be a big star. You're going to be a big star. I thought, okay, here I am, California. Well, nobody ever came to see me that I know of, and I was discouraged with the music business. I didn't want to be a cowboy. I wanted to be somebody like Frankie Avalon.
Close.
I wanted to be one of those teenage idols. Well, it wasn't happening. So my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, had a friend whose husband was driving a catering truck, of all things, farthest thing you could get from music, and doing very well. So he offered, I was there, I had quit Knott's Berry Farm in 1962. And so he offered me to help me get a job there, and I did that, and I drove a catering truck for the next 9 years.
And never didn't sing at all.
I didn't sing. No, I didn't.
No weddings, no funerals, none of that stuff?
No, and I didn't even. And I later on married the girl who was girlfriend, my wife Sandra, who's been probably my biggest inspiration through the years. I married her in '64, and driving a catering truck. And I regret now that I didn't sing at my own wedding, but you know, people do that now. But back then in '64, I'd never heard of it. But so. I just drove a catering truck for the next 9 years, from '62 till about '71, and a friend of mine that was still working at Knott's Berry Farm called and said they're building a new venue at Knott's Berry Farm. It's going to be a 2,000-seat state-of-the-art theater called the John Wayne Theater, and it was state-of-the-art. It seats 2,000 people, and would I be interested in maybe forming a group and auditioning and try to get in there as the house group? And so I said, well, yeah, I was tired of getting up at 3:30 in the morning going to work driving that catering truck. So we put a few songs together, went out auditioned, and lo and behold, got the job. And it was a group called the Here and Now, H-E-A-R, Here and Now. And we worked the theater. I was there, I left there in '74. And then I was working nightclubs. I was at the Sheraton Anaheim Hotel for the next 4 years.
What kind of songs were you singing?
Pop singer. When we formed the group, the Here and Now, it was totally different music. It was pop, you know, popular songs of the day. We covered them and had a good run there, and had a lot of fun. And
so far we've covered Western.
Western.
We've covered pop.
Pop.
Okay. Pick it up and where I just stopped.
Okay. I always thought if I ever have to work a dive, which is a low-class nightclub, I'm going to get out. Well, I went from the Sheraton to another pretty nice place, and after that got into what I called a dive. I worked there for about 6 months. I thought, I don't want any more of this, you know. And so I left the music world again, back to the catering trucks. And I did it for I did that for about 14 more years. And then
Did you ever have your own truck? You always worked for somebody?
No, I always worked for someone else. I leased the truck from my boss, and who was one of my best friends to this very day. And I leased the truck from him, bought my product from him. And and I did that for 14 more years.
That was all local?
Yeah, it was local, Newport Beach, Costa Mesa.
Really?
Yeah, and Anaheim. And so.
I want to say Vern's Flying Foods or?
Vern's Flying Foods.
The Vern's Flying Foods.
Oh, I thought you said flying. No, it was just Orange County Food Service.
Really?
The biggest catering outfit in Orange County. And I really enjoyed it because you get to know people out on your route. They're your friends. But anyway, in 1990, I made a tape over at my church in Anaheim, and the pastor over there were good friends of the founders of TBN, Trinity Broadcasting, and his wife used the president's wife's car one day, and she just accidentally left that homemade tape in Jan's car.
Right.
Bingo. And they got a hold of me, and I've been with TBN for about the last 22 years. So I'm a gospel singer now. So I've covered just about every type of music in my career.
But as we speak today, you would be known probably internationally, because that program goes all over the world, doesn't it?
Yeah, they have stations all over the world now, and they say there's about 80 million viewers.
80 million viewers.
That's a lot.
So now have you figured out who he is yet? Even if you were channel flipping,
yeah,
you got at least local here. You go on 17, and we just may see you.
Yeah.
I just might throw my 2 cents worth in. When I first met Vern, I could never go up and say, where do I know you from? Because I couldn't bring myself to do that. But I often wondered where. This guy's got a great voice, and how come, where did I see him? And I didn't realize until years later, flipping through, there he is, I know him. That's the guy, yeah, hey, he lives in Leisure World.
Yep.
That's Vern Jackson. So that answers the question. It was either Knott's Berry Farm, it was in the Sheraton, it was in high school, it was friends you made in your
On my catering truck route,
catering, on
yes.
your food truck thing,
Yes.
or it was Trinity Broadcasting
Yes.
Network. You know, I have to kind of let the audience in on a little secret here. When Vern agreed to do this show, we were going to go forward backwards. We were going to start with the Trinity program. In fact, Vern, oh, I should stop right there. I've videoed Vern on several occasions, but as a video producer, I always gave my copy to whoever, in this case, Vern sang for. Because Vern never had his own show, he's always sung for somebody else. So the cabaret, I'd give the president that copy. Hank Bartow, the same thing. I didn't video your last thing, so when it became apparent you were going to be on the show, then I looked to see whether I had a copy, and I knew I didn't because I wanted to pull some clips from something you'd already done. And then we were going to do that, but that didn't work. And I didn't find out until yesterday that I'd exhausted all my looking for a copy of any video that I can make a copy and use as a roll in here. I'd already asked Vern prior to that whether or not he would like to sing live, and he said no. And I said, okay, that's not a problem. So then Tuesday, that's just 3 days ago, I find out, well, I guess we're going to talk our way through on this baby. Vern comes over and he says, you know, here, why don't you play this, because, but be very careful because I want this played at my funeral, quote unquote. Did you not say that?
Yes, I did say that.
And I thought to myself, remember, I don't know all this stuff that you have heard so far, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I wonder what song he's going to play. And we cannot, so I was all set to show it on this program, but so we can't do that because of copyright issues. Vern did it on the Trinity Broadcasting system, and you know, we can't do that off their permission. So then we couldn't do it. So I'm thinking, well, darn. I'm supposed to pick him up at 1 o'clock today, and so I get over there and I lay the bad news on him that, you know, we're not going to be able to do this. And he said, well, or actually his wife said, what if Vern wants you to sing something live? And I said, would you do that? And he says, yeah. So we went from not going to sing at all to a tape that we couldn't play to a video that didn't happen. And you're going to hear him live here pretty quick. And you're going to find out, you'll draw your own conclusions. He is not going to sing a gospel song. But he's certainly going to sing one that you all know, or all will know pretty well. But Vern, getting back to your I want to call them trials and tribulations of,
well, there has been,
you know, in your life up to the last, I guess, 20 years, because you've been with those guys for what, 20 years now?
I started in latter part of 1991. So
20, going on 20, what, 3 years, I guess.
22 years, yeah.
And currently, can we see you currently?
I will be on again July 11th. I'm tentatively scheduled for July. Sometimes things fall apart,
sure,
like they do everywhere, but I am scheduled tentatively for July 11, 7 o'clock, Channel 17, if you have Time Warner, and also the 25th, and they're both on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. And I don't travel anymore. I traveled for very many years. My wife and I traveled, but due to some problems that happened about 3 years ago, I'm wearing out, so I don't travel much anymore.
It's called AGE, I think, isn't it?
AGE disease,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, we all got that.
Yes.
To varying degrees.
Yes.
Were you in your years of traveling? Were you ever a quote unquote roadie, where you had your own bus and that sort of thing?
No, I didn't. I get on an airplane and fly into a city, and I had people booking me in that city and surrounding areas, you know, within maybe 100 miles of each other, and that's how I worked. And I used soundtracks, so I didn't have a band, and those soundtracks play the same way every time you play them. They're
Yes, they
exactly
do.
the same. And so I didn't have an entourage, or I didn't have any of that. I just flew in and rented a car and go to where I was supposed to be.
This program could not do justice to Vern, but if you really want to find out about Vern, go to vernjackson.com. Is that right?
Yes.
And his bio is rather fascinating, and has a lot of stuff that we certainly can't cover here, and the things he's done, the people he's done them with, and what have you. But were you telling me that you had the Jordanaires as your backup for a while?
On one of my CDs, I had the Jordanaires.
Uh-huh.
It was Wonderful Peace is the name of the CD, and what a thrill that was, because, you know, everybody knows the Jordanaires as Elvis's first backup group.
Right.
He always had gospel behind him,
Uh-huh.
that gospel sound. That was his, he loved gospel music, and so he always had a gospel group behind him, and the Jordanaires were the first.
Oh.
And they backed me up, and they were the original guys. One of them since has passed. This was about 3 years ago when I did that, or maybe 4 years ago when I did that CD, and in Nashville. I do all my CDs in Nashville because that's where the best musicians are. And what a thrill that was to have them back me up. It was, yes, it was. So, and nice guys, just down-to-earth guys.
It's too bad we can't do a quiz that says something like this. At what point in this show did you recognize or could put a face to the name of this show? That, oh yeah, I know Vern Jackson. Of course I do.
Well,
I just didn't know his name, or I knew his name and couldn't put the two together.
yeah.
Vern, by the way, does sing in just about every, besides Memorial Day, probably Labor Day,
Whenever the vets, I always...
whenever the veterans have, whenever it's a military
Yes.
kind of a thing,
Yeah.
you're always there. And
I do the national anthem and Proud to be an American, and another one of my songs that I'm the only one I think that I know of that's ever sang it, and great, great patriotic song, and so I do about 3 songs, and so whenever there's a patriotic deal, I'm usually
Well,
there.
I know you are. I know you
So-
are. I've seen most of them, not all of them, but most of them.
And I do La Habra a lot, because the mayor of La Habra, well, he's not the mayor now, but he was a good friend of mine, and I do a lot of their patriotic things also.
So other than Trinity, you are pretty much, for all intent and purpose, retired. Is that a
Yes, I
correct
would say so,
statement?
yeah.
And he's busy in his little golf cart riding all
And
over.
I also,
Or walking his dog.
I do a couple of concerts a year at Faith Christian Assembly Church,
Uh-huh.
right outside St. Andrew's Gate. I'm over there a couple times a year, and it's usually in the Leisure World newspaper when I'm going to do that. So, other than that, I don't do much.
When we originally, you'll see this when you see the show, Vern, but we trying to figure out what to call you, and
Be careful.
no, that we could put on TV.
Oh, okay.
And so I had you tagged as entertainer, and I did that on purpose because actually the correct title would be gospel singer.
Well,
correct?
I'm a gospel entertainer. I'm a Christian entertainer.
Right, and I understand that. But I thought if I do that going in, then that almost implies that everything you did was that, which is not true at all.
Oh.
And so I thought we'll clarify that once we got further on into the show. But so you haven't, other than some of the things I've already mentioned, you haven't really done any pop stuff at all.
Well, not since when I left the Sheraton Hotel in '76. I didn't do any music until I got into gospel in '91.
So there was no transition, you just went
I went back to the truck. I was driving the catering truck
then
again.
straight into gospel.
Yes, yes.
Huh. Well, we've got about 9 minutes left in this show, and the song he's going to sing is about 3.5 minutes. And Vern, do you feel like doing that now?
Whenever you'd like, I'm here for you, Bob.
Well, I got to cue these guys up, and
Okay.
the sound people up, and you got to get up and you got to take that mic off and pick up that other mic there.
Okay.
So if you go in slow-mo, we're probably going to be ready for you by the time you stand up and grab that mic.
I'm pretty slow-mo all the time.
You got it. I got it.
Okay.
See, we want the big introduction here now? I guess so. And here he is, folks. You've waited all day. Vern, I'm going to let you announce your song.
Okay, this is one of my favorite songs. I kind of grew up singing this song. It was Song of the Year in 1952. Stayed #1 in the pop charts. It's an inspirational song. It's on one of my albums, Inspirational Songs from the 50s. And Frankie Laine recorded this. And it was Song of the Year, 1952. #1 for 6 months. Called I Believe. For every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows. I believe that somewhere in the darkest night a candle glows. I believe for everyone who goes astray, someone will come to show the way. I believe, oh yes, I believe. I believe above the storm, smallest prayer will still be heard. I believe that someone in that great somewhere hears every word. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry or touch a leaf or see the sky, then I know why I believe.
I believe above the storm, the smallest prayer will still be heard. I believe that someone in that great somewhere hears every word. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry or touch a leaf or see the sky, then I know why I
Thank you, Bob.
Super. I wonder how you did that.
Well, that's a little speaker feedback.
I know what that is, but I
Okay.
wonder how you did that.
There must be a speaker up here somewhere.
No, your other mic's way over here.
Okay.
Anyway. Gosh. I wonder how many people are at home clapping when they hear you sing that. 'Cause
Well,
you
you
do
know,
that so well, Sonny.
Well, I've been blessed. I've been
Yeah.
blessed. I can I still have pretty much most of my voice left, and you do too.
Well, this is not about me. This is about
Okay,
you.
okay. I just want to throw you a little compliment your
Well,
way.
thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
I understand, and it's really hard for me to believe that we're looking at a guy who had no vocal lessons per se, was actually born with that voice, and is that correct?
Well, my teachers were the three Mr. C's, Como, Crosby, and Cole.
I didn't know they made house calls.
They didn't,
Oh,
but I
okay.
watched them on TV every chance I got. And, of course, I grew up with that. Crosby was my mom's favorite singer. So that's what I heard growing up. And then later on in the 50s, Elvis came along, and I incorporated a little bit of him in some of my sounds. And then later on, when I was working at Knott's Berry Farm in the 50s as a cowboy, Marty Robbins was real big
Yes, he
with
was.
his cowboy, El Paso, and
Yeah.
all of his cowboy songs. So I got some of my stuff from him. So those were my teachers, and I praise God for it.
Yeah, but you don't really sound like anybody else. I can't say, well, he's kind of like Sinatra, or he's
Well-
like Como, or he's like Glenn Campbell, or he's like whomever, because you're different.
Well, thank you. And I didn't want to be like them, but
No,
we
I'm
all
not saying you should.
we all glean from one another, you know,
Mhm.
and that's how we get what we have, regardless of what we're doing. You know, in the same profession, we try to be or watch every. You know, if somebody's a welder, you watch him and how he does things. Or in my case, I was a singer, and so.
Were you always a quote-unquote headliner, or were you a backup guy, or were you an opening act for anybody?
When I
or-
sang, I was always the lead singer.
Okay.
Well, you know, at Knott's Berry Farm, both times there, I was the lead singer. So, and at the Sheraton, I had my own group.
Huh. Amazing. He, in talking with Bernie, he said, you know, I guess I would just never, these are my words, not yours, but I guess never really at the right place at the right time, because
Well-
that's about what you're saying.
I look back on my life now, and I was probably where I needed to be all the time. You know,
Okay.
You know, if I would have made it as a teenager, who knows what I would have become of me? Like so many other people that made it at a very young age. Some of them are dead now, and
Yes.
a lot of them have nothing left. So I look at my life, and there's some things I would have done different. I would have probably been more aggressive with what I was trying to do, but that's not my personality, being aggressive. So I just figure I was where I was supposed to be. God had me there all the time, where I was supposed to be.
Vern, would you believe that this has been going on for, well, I'll have to be a little specific, this show has been going on for 29 minutes and 15 seconds, which means we got about 40 seconds left in this show.
Mhm.
Is there any particular message you'd like to lay on any of us before we say goodbye to everybody?
Well, whatever it is, whatever your thoughts or beliefs are, stay true to them. And sometimes that's not easy to do, but hang in there. And you're never too old to do what you want to do if you really want to do it. And again, I want to thank you, Bob, for having me on today. It's been a real pleasure.
No, the pleasure's been all
Okay,
ours,
Bob.
really.
Okay,
really.
man.
It's too bad the show was only a half an hour.
And we're neighbors.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Once again.